Mr. Chairman, and thank both of you for your service. And Governor Beasley, it's great to see you as well. Just to pick up on that final point of my colleague, Senator Young, I think the testimony we've received in a number of hearings, including the Appropriations Committee, has been exactly as you said, Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield, which is that we are trying to be creative in getting some of that grain out, but the reality is when you've got 20 million tons, we've got to get it ultimately out through the Black Sea. And I just want to echo what my colleagues have said and which you all agree with, which is we need to do a much better job of letting the world know that Russia is using food as a weapon of war. And it's actually doing a double-edged sword here because they are withholding grain, corn, and wheat from Ukraine. But as I understand it, Russia's expecting a bumper wheat crop of over 40 million tons themselves. Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield, those shipments are going out through the Black Sea, are they not?
Russian agricultural products are not being blocked. They're not shipping them out as rapidly as they could for a number of reasons of their own making, but it's not because of sanctions. So we're working on the Black Sea option to help get Ukrainian food out. The Russians could be moving their food, and that's a message that I think we need to be really highlighting much more loudly.
Right. I think that, again, they're raising pressure on on food supplies and prices by blocking the Ukrainian grain. They also have this storage of grain, which they're then using to pressure countries. Senator Kane, I heard referenced the statement by the president of Senegal after he met with Putin, sort of buying into the sanctions narrative. Are you seeing at the UN Russia's effective use of this false narrative in terms of, getting countries to vote their way or abstain?
I am absolutely seeing the Russians use their false narrative to pressure countries. They have not succeeded, however, in getting those countries in large numbers to vote with them. So in the Security Council vote that we had recently on Syria, 13 countries supported the resolution. Russia vetoed, China abstained. In the General Assembly, we get large numbers of votes, but Russia is using pressure tactics. More than 17 African countries abstain for fear of Russian intimidation tactics against them. So we have to be conscious of that. These countries are desperate. They are afraid. But I think they also understand what is happening, and we just, again, have to work with them to address those issues. I've had a conversation with President Macky Sall. I'm having listening sessions with the Africans to hear their concerns, but also to address their concerns.
Well, I appreciate it. I know that you're working hard to make sure the truth gets out at the UN and make sure that people vote not based on misinformation, but based on principle. So let me very briefly, because I do have a question for Administrator Power, in terms of these discussions that are ongoing with the UN, Turkey, Russia, and Ukraine. There have been some reports that are heralding a possible breakthrough. What is your current assessment of the prospects of those?
I'm hopeful, and as I heard Ambassador Power say, hope doesn't always get us what we need. So we're very supportive of the process because this is a process that will allow 20 million tons of Ukrainian grain to get out to the market. So we're encouraging the UN in these efforts, but we will also be watching the Russians and hold them accountable for any agreement that they should make with the UN. We thought we might even hear that an announcement would happen today. So far, it hasn't happened.
All right. Administrator Power, thank you for all your efforts in getting the emergency funds, including the food assistance, out the door. I know it's a big task. The World Food Program is obviously a trusted partner. I guess we'll hear later about their capacity to absorb more. how do you think about the distribution between the World Food Program versus other trusted NGO partners? Senator Card mentioned the Catholic Relief Services has got its home in Baltimore. How do you think about that in terms of the goal, which is to get food where it's needed as quickly as possible?
Is the question specifically in Ukraine or globally as well?
Well, globally, but focusing primarily on what's happening as a result of what's happened, of the Ukraine conflict.
Okay, thank you. And I would just note, per your exchange with Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield, that in addition to having a bumper crop, Russia's already also stealing Ukrainian grain. So it's not just blockading, it's actually stealing and selling grain that Ukrainian farmers planted, harvested, more than $100 million worth at least, which is outrageous in every respect.
If you could, Administrator, succinctly answer this question, because I need to get to Governor Beasley.
Indeed. So let me say that we are already funding 46 local partners in Ukraine. I think that's very important to, over time, and I think David Beasley agrees, we've had a lot of conversations about that, to transition to the Ukrainian Red Cross, other local organizations that can carry this work on when the international community hopefully, will be able to leave at some point. There are also, we can't just focus only on food. Obviously the World Health Organization, given the destruction of health facilities, is very important. International NGOs like CRS, Mercy Corps, IRC, and others are critical partners on the ground. I think what is unique about the World Food Program is their ability to scale speedily. I know there were frustrations at the beginning because they were not operating in Ukraine when the war started. But if you look at, and David will speak to this, just the amount of reach that WFP has and the ability to get cash and food to people quickly, there's nothing quite like it. But over time, we'll need to round out and make sure that all other sectors are covered and that we have something sustainable.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. With the thanks of the committee to both of you for both your work and your testimony here today, you are now excused. We look forward to continuing to engage you. Governor Beasley, come on up. Your full statement will be included in the record without objection. I know you have a hard stop at 12. Hopefully there's a little flexibility, but give us, having heard members' questions and the testimony that has taken place, any insights you can give us as the largest provider as an entity would be very helpful.